All right, everybody, it's time to start. Very welcome to this LEGO Series Play introduction webinar. It's hosted by me, Gustav Widerström from Ideon and Jens Rottbøll from Trivium. Some ground rules before we start. Please, I ask you to mute your audio during the presentation. I also would like to encourage you to ask any questions that you have during the presentation in the chat, and we will bring them up during the presentation, or at least in the end of the presentation. Also, just like to point out that we are recording this webinar, and it may be used in the future for other people that are interested in what LEGO Series Play is, and they can view this later on. If you need any tech support, or if you have a colleague or another person that you know that would like to attend, you can reach me on SMS or WhatsApp during the presentation here, and I will try to help you out. And also for the timekeeping, we have this one, so I will also be the timekeeper of the meeting today.
Thank you.
So with that said, welcome everybody, and a short introduction to myself and the company of Ideon Open before I hand over to Jens. So my name is Gustav Widerström. I'm the guy on the picture holding the Lego brick. What else? And Ideon Open is a company based in Lund in the south of Sweden. We are a company that do innovation work. We typically, our clients are big, mature organizations that we help do corporate innovation in an entrepreneurial style. So to do that, we use startup methodologies and innovative methods. And that is when I came in contact with LEGO Series Play myself a couple of years ago. And my first contact when I was notified about LEGO Series Play and that there is a certification you can take for 4 days was that, how can you build Lego for 4 days? That doesn't even, you know, how hard can it be? But we took the certification, and I had the pleasure of having Jens as the facilitator, and boy, was I impressed. Now we have been using LEGO Series Play as a method for a couple of years in a number of assignments and work that we have done. And me, myself, have become really passionate about the LEGO Series Play method. And hopefully, if me and Jens, we do the right thing here today, hopefully when you leave this webinar in 39 minutes and 51 seconds, you will also feel a big interest and be passionate and interested in this method. Yeah, I think that was what I wanted to mention as an introduction. So I also want to just mention one of the references that I myself have done with the LEGO Series Play as the tool. And this was work that I did with what is called HCB Works in Helsingborg, the city of Helsingborg. We helped them to construct or develop an innovation hub. And it was Martin Gyll, who is the guy on in the upper left picture. He's the guy on the right with the white t-shirt leaning forward. And he is the digitalization director of Helsingborg City. And he wanted to create some sort of innovation hub or innovation environment where his team of digitalization people could meet with the other parts of the city and with citizens of the city and other companies of the city to help drive the digitalization and the innovation efforts of the city. But what is an innovation hub? What is an innovation environment? Everybody had their own different interpretation of it. So we used LEGO Series Play to where we let everybody, as you can see in this picture, build their own version of what is an innovation hub for me. Not maybe physically as much as, well, what are the emotions, what is the characteristics, what are the tools, etc. of this environment. So they built their own innovation hub environment, every person, and then they combined it, as you can see in the second picture. And then on the third big picture down here, you can see how the innovation hub, the final model, was presented at a big innovation gathering in the south of Sweden. And they invited other actors outside the innovation hub to build their own Lego models on how they wanted to interact with the innovation hub. That was a really great example, I think, of what you can achieve with LEGO Series Play. And to learn more about LEGO Serious Play, today we have the pleasure of having Jens with us here, who will now take over the presentation and tell you more about what LEGO Serious Play is. And it's an honor to have you here, Jens, because you are like one of the top people that have worked with LEGO Serious Play the longest time, I think, on the whole part of our planet. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you. Can you see the screen I'm sharing now?
Yes.
Let me just put it up in a bigger size. Okay, good morning, everybody. And Gustav, thank you for the introduction and being the DJ of this morning. I didn't see that coming, but now I know you're a good DJ. Thank you. So let me just take over from Gustav here, just explain roughly. Gustav is from Ideon Open, and I come from my own company, Trivium, and from the Association of Master Trainers, which is a small association of 15 global trainers that train other people to be facilitators of LEGO Serious Play. We have some trainings coming up in Sweden. We'll get back to this, but of course we would love to build up Sweden as a market in this, meaning that from my perspective, there's a big untapped potential in Sweden, and this is why we decided to work with Ideon Open on this. We always work with local partners wherever we do the trainings in the world. We need to find a good local partner that can arrange this for us. In the end, we have the Q&A, and as Gustav said, you put in your questions in the chat, and he will kind of look at them, sort them out, and we will answer everything. Maybe not today, maybe there are questions that need to be answered later. We do that. Okay, so just very briefly, I was actually one of the first one trained in the world back in 2001. So I'm probably one of the most experienced facilitators doing client work using this methodology. And as Gustav said in the beginning, I thought, well, this might be a couple of years, then something new comes on, but this has been growing on me ever since, and it still does. We have this company, Trivium. We have international partners. We have partners in Italy, Peru, and more to come to kind of have a global reach out. I am trainer and facilitator, meaning that I'm not like a full-time trainer. Maybe my training is like 30% of my time and client work is like 70% of my time, which to me is really important to understand. Where is the market? What are the clients? What do the clients need? So I have a kind of a business perspective to this. I do trainings around the world, as you can see in the list, get around. We both do open trainings like we've done in Sweden, but we also do internal training programs for large company like, Ørsted, Deutsche Bahn, stuff like that. So it can be both ends. Just to share my reference here, Ørsted, which is the biggest Danish energy provider, in Denmark, but also the #1 sustainable company in the world. I have worked for them for 8 years using LEGO Serious Play in their thermal division, where we have reached out to every single employee. It's over 2,000 people that have been in touch with the bricks. And for a period of 8 years, we have helped transform that business from using thermal power to be a sustainable energy company. It took a lot of years, but that's the kind of transformational power that we have using this tool. So that's how I'm still really fascinated about this. So, starting into the introduction to the method here. You're probably here because you somehow have the idea that LEGO Serious Play can help you, which is a good starting point. Whether you're internal or you're independent consultant, you always look for new ways of doing things. How can we do change processes? How can we transform things? And this is exactly what this tool is about. It is a tool. It needs to be facilitated. And this is why we have these trainings, to help people become strong facilitators. You don't have to do this. As Gustav shared, the first time they say, why 4 days? And I don't even have to. No, you can just grab some bricks and you can start playing. but I will promise you that that doesn't, help you become a great consultant or a great internal facilitator of this. So we offer these trainings to those that really wants to be good. And this is the promise we have from the Association of Master Trainers. We consider ourselves to be among the best in the world doing this. We have the 2 master trainers that defined this methodology as part of our group. So we know what we're doing here, but our target group is the people that really want to become good. And as I said, you don't have to do this, but if you want to be good, find one way to get into this methodology. Because you can use these Lego bricks for a million things, but that does not make it Lego serious play. Lego serious play, it's a process. It's a well-defined learning process and change process that is underneath that level where we play with some Lego bricks. The bricks are just the Lego bricks. But underneath, there's a process we call Lego serious play that allows you to get through a difficult, complex problem and find a good solution for it. And that's the stuff we look into at the trainings. So be aware that the point of this is not to play, it's not to entertain, and this is not to have a break from the work. No, it is work, it's hard work. It is transformational work, it is change work, it is strategy work, it is team development work, it is coaching, whatever branch you're in, but it is definitely work. But we do it in a playful way, which is why that it helps facilitate the change processes that we want to facilitate. If you have questions along the way, please put them into the chat. Because it's impossible to know all your needs when you join this webinar. So I just start sharing some of this stuff. And if you have ideas, questions, just put them in. To move a bit on, understanding the both simplicity and the strength of this process. When we talk to our clients about strategy, there's a lot of different ways of doing strategy, and they all have their own favorites. You have your own favorite ways of doing strategy, probably. The only thing most people can agree on is that it's something about getting from A, which could be where we are right now, and get to a B situation in the future. That's kind of the very simplistic way of explaining strategy. Where are we now, and where do we want to go? So that's not so complicated. And if the situation is that it's really easy to predict and foresee the way to get from A to B, then there's absolutely no use for Lego serious play. Sometimes just, I'm here, I want to go there, I can see all the steps, I don't have doubts, I have all the insights, just do it. In real life, what happens a lot of times in real life, and that goes for individuals and teams and company strategies, is that it more looks like this one here. That you have a certain understanding of where you are, might not be precise, you're trying to go somewhere else, you end up, you go up, you go down, you sidetrack, and you're not really sure where you're ending. This is how a lot of strategy processes rolls out. Or it takes really a long time to get them on track and get to the B. So what Lego serious play offers is actually a really strict process, but strict in the way that there's a lot of flexibility into it. But it offers a process where you can really be good at defining your A. It could be a personal level, on team level, or organizational level, and finding out what B is attractive for me. Where do I really want to be in the future? And if it was Gustav and me, how does B look from Gustav's perspective? Maybe he has another B or a C. But how do we align this so we can make a strong plan in an accelerated way to get from the A to B? This is kind of the very simplest way that I can kind of explain the power of this tool. It looks so simple with these you know, the two letters and an error. But in real life, this is the complexity that people struggle with. So this is one way of looking at it. Another thing I would like to point out is how we use the language in this, because a lot of us might use it differently. So there's a difference between facilitation versus consulting. I do both. I'm a you know, senior consultant. I facilitate, I train, but I'm really aware on how I use these words. What we focus on in the trainings is to understand that consulting, teaching, training, this is all about, let's just get a marker here. This is all about that the consultant or the teacher, the training, they have one view and one understanding of a certain topic, and they want to give pieces, and that, you know, they want to give that understanding to the participants. That is typically what we call training and teaching. You have knowledge, one person has knowledge, and they want other persons to have the same knowledge. Lego Serious Play is different. This is Lego Serious Play. The process is built up from a question. It's a question-based facilitated methodology. So by asking a question, this is the facilitator. This could be me. By asking a question that is powerful, you allow people to define several right answers to that question. And that creates that richness and that diversity of answers that is needed to solve a complex problem. Because if it was very simple, and if there was only one right answer, you would probably have done it already. But real life is different, and business life is certainly different. So this is how we use the language the words to differentiate. This is about facilitating. When you do this training, you become facilitators of Lego Serious Play. You become good at asking the right questions that helps the client through a process where they actually can see a lot of variety and diversity of right answers. So this was consulting versus facilitation. If we go a bit closer to this methodology, one of the things we say, well, this is what we call the 20-80 meeting versus the 100-100 meeting. I'll get back to this. This is about unlocking potential, and this is about breaking habitual thinking. These are kind of the three really key characteristics. And let's look at a meeting here. This is what we call a 20-80 meeting. And that means that 20% of the people are participating and the 80 people are just leaning back. I can't see it on my screen. You see you have one over here to the right who's actually almost asleep. This is in many companies, not always, but in many companies, we do a lot of these kind of meetings where people disengage. They don't really, maybe they don't feel that there's a room for their voice, you know, for whatever reasons. And this is not very efficient. So what the Lego Serious Play methodology offers is a meeting like this, where people are focused, concentrated, and 100% of the people participates 100% of the time. And that's highly efficient compared to other ways of having meetings. So this is from one of the trainings where participants are asked to build an exercise. And they all dig into this, and you can see they are focused on the space in front of them and the Lego bricks they have available. And there's a lot of thoughts going on and reflection in their heads. And that's what we need. That's how to get out the potential from people's heads. And it's a co-creating process. Here you see, as Gustav shared in the beginning, that we always go from when we do these processes, we go from the individual level where people get a chance to express themselves and be right in what they express. This is her view, this is his view of this situation, and everybody has their own truth here. And then we get to this level where they're going to negotiate their truth and get a strong shared understanding of this is how we see it. So what they're in the middle of here is what we call shared model building, which is part integrated in this process here. So again, you can see how people are leaning in. They cannot touch the brakes everybody at one time, but they are listening, they're engaged, they react if something is wrong. They react to, oh no, I don't agree in this, and they continue their way of negotiating. If you look at unlocking potential, well, 5 to 10% of our knowledge is on a conscious level. So the critical thing for every one of us and for the companies and the client we work for is, how do we get into this space here? The 90 to 95% of unconscious knowledge that we know, but we're not able to articulate it automatically. So this process is about using the brain and the Lego bricks to get into that big pond of tacit knowledge that we have and articulate it. So make something that is really intangible, to make that concrete, so other people can actually challenge me, understand me, disagree with me, now that they can see what is on my mind. So we simply use the bricks as a way to tap into this pond of a lot of more thoughts, ideas, reflections that we have on the automated level in our brains. The last point here is about breaking habitual thinking, and especially here on the, on the back or in the middle, I don't know, of the COVID-19 crisis. A lot of companies are starting asking about how can we, how does the aftermath looks like? And in order to do that, you need to break habitual thinking. All of us, we have one way, one perspective of things. But what this process allows us to is to get different, more perspective of things. And by doing that, we are able to create richer and better solutions to the complex problem we are trying to solve, whether it is on a personal or team level or organizational level. We need this variety, diversity of thought and perspectives to solve complex problems. Good. So just to wrap up a few things and allow for questions. So a couple of key beliefs here. Everybody know more than they know. That's what we call the untapped potential. And we release that potential through the methodology and the process we have designed. Everybody wants to do well. We really trust in that positive power. People want to do good for themselves or for their company. And we really believe that if you put a group of people together to solve something, the answer is in the system. But we need to dig deeper into the knowledge of these people. We need to have a strong learning process. So it's really a detailed and structured process, but it allows for a lot of freedom of thought that we need to dive into this problem solving that we do. So that was a very short intro of a 4-day training, and you might have totally other questions on your mind. I just want to remind saying that we have these 2 trainings coming up: Stockholm 22nd to 25th September, and then Lund in November. And you might also not come from Sweden or be interested in other trainings, and you just let us know, because then we can guide you. because people, they attend to trainings wherever it's convenient, or whether it's possible, or how it fit with their calendar, for all reasons. So there are a lot of opportunities to get trained if you want to go that direction. I think that was it. Yeah. So that was kind of the short introduction here. So any questions, please come forward. I stopped sharing here. Let's see.
No questions yet on the chat,
No.
but I can ask a question in the meantime. Jens,
Yeah.
when does Lego Serious Play work well, for what scenarios, and when is it not the perfect tool to use?
So I'm just trying to stop sharing there. Yeah, sorry. So once again,
when is Lego Serious Play in what scenarios does Lego Serious Play work well, and in what scenarios should you maybe use other tools?
So my rule of thumb is, whenever I talk to my clients, is that when I get that feeling that I'm talking to somebody, they want something, but they don't really know how to get there. There's no clear way. They have different possibilities, and when a problem or situation has this certain kind of complexity, Lego Serious Play is a perfect tool for that. There might be other tools. There are a lot of good tools on the market, but for that kind of complexity, it's great. If I meet a client and the client says, well, I know I want this and I know exactly how to get there, can you do a 2-day training for me and my leadership team? I would simply say it's a total waste of time. If you already know the solution and you're not interested in other perspectives, just send out a mail and say, hey guys, we're doing this from tomorrow morning. That will be a waste of time and money to do that. But if it has this complexity that nobody really knows, there's not one person in the room that has the right answer. You need to find the answers between the people in the room, and it's complex, it's messy, it's difficult. That's a perfect spot for using a Lego Serious Play methodology.
Can you mention some examples of assignments or scenarios where Lego Serious Play have been used?
Yeah. In my professional life here, I do a lot of strategy work, which is, strategy is, as I showed with the A to the B, a lot of the work that I do is really to figure out what, simple way, 2-day workshops with a top management group. Where are we now? Where do we want to be in 3 years? So that's a really classical one. Some of the other situations, when you dive into the company culture, I've done a lot of work kind of refining the DNA of a company culture, because a culture is very difficult to put words on. Again, we have a lot of superficial words that describes the culture of Ideon Open, or the culture of my company, or the culture of your company. But that doesn't really hold a deep insight. So when you're working with company culture or DNA or company values, it's a great tool to get into the deeper understanding. What is it really? Yes, I know you say respect. Yes, I know you say this. Yes, we will be transparent. Yes, but these are all, like, to a certain extent, superficial words until we really understand and have a shared understanding what they are about. That could be one thing. Another thing that we did a lot in big global companies is, like, just coordinating work between Denmark, China, US, different ways of practices. How can we, those interfaces, how can they be optimized, both when it comes to structure, processes, culture, leadership, how we behave, how we act, and stuff like that. So this is just some examples. I know that a lot of people use it for coaching. I've done that as well. It's great in a one-to-one situation or one to a smaller team. So that there's the but I want to add to your question that the training is really a standardized program where you really get to learn a method or methodology, but you also get to learn how to design processes for your client. And those processes, they're always different. So the methodology we teach you at the trainings will be different every time you are with a client, but that's the beauty and the flexibility for me in this methodology. Yes, we understand all the basic. Yes, I understand why it works. People that have been through this training, they are able to module and redesign processes so it works for the clients, because the purpose of this is to have happy clients. Our purpose is actually not to have a lot of facilitators around the world. Then we should really do more trainings. We should be more aggressive in the market and stuff like that. Our purpose is to have really high quality training so we get happy clients, because then they keep wanting to do the accelerated learning we can offer with the Lego Serious Play methodology. That was a long answer to a short question. Sorry.
It's an important thing to answer. And I mean, I remember for Ideon Open, we were at 7 people right now when we use Lego Serious Play, facilitated by Jens, to develop our own, what we call core identity. Yep. Who are we? Who do we want to be as people and as part of this company or this group? So Jens made us build this individually and then put it together in a shared model. And it was a great process. And then the great thing with using the bricks is that we could then place that Lego model in our office. So this model is loaded with emotions, and you can see it every day and be reminded from this physical thing in space about these sort of vague emotions and feelings. And I don't think PowerPoint slides would have achieved that.
Oh no, of course not. It is definitely different. But I think your experience here links to another thing I might add, that you choose to be like, you said 7 from the same company being certified, and that gives you a huge advantage. So we encourage, especially the major companies, if they're interested, we encourage to, if possible, to have 2 or 3 people, because their learning curve will be so much steeper when they have internal colleagues to spare with and to discuss with and to help design, which is a critical part of this process here. So that's another key thing. We also, what we're trying to do here with Ideon Open and Gustav is to create communities. So we have strong communities all over the world. So even though if you are one independent consulting joining, you will become part of a strong community, both in Sweden, but also on a global scale. We do work all over the world where we use the local facilitators. So there's a strong network. We meet once a year in at the Lego house in Billund. They kindly offer us to be there. So that is beautiful, and we meet facilitators globally. It's fascinating. But that's just to point out that once you've done the training, you become part of the international network where you always can find people to work with, whether you want to work in Thailand or China or whatever. That's it. Yeah. So time is running, Gustav. You know what?
Yeah, we
still have time. Oh, good.
Yeah. I think one, of course, sort of elephant in the room, I have to ask you is, this COVID-19 thing. Yeah. How does that work with physical Lego bricks?
Well, so far we have, and I apologize to those of you that has been hit by this. We had to cancel trainings here in the middle of the COVID-19 because too risky, and people, of course, couldn't travel and stuff like that. We're starting up again, and what we do from our side, we have figured out ways to create what we call a safer space around this. we space people out in the room. Sometimes we do smaller groups. We have hand gel, we have face shields. Face shields work fine, better than face masks. So there are all kinds, routines about hand washing and stuff like that. We do that, and it seems to work. Right now, we are gathering experience from all around the world. What works, what doesn't, stuff like that. But of course, in the end, like, we can't put out a guarantee, like, the same way that if you go shopping, there's no guarantee, but you need to take precautions, and we do that. And we're starting trainings up all over the world again, here before summer and continuing after summer. Trainings before summer that's been cancelled has now been rescheduled in the autumn. So that's also go from Stockholm that was cancelled in May. Yeah. So we are certainly aware, and we do all we can to do this. So we're testing a lot of things out now. Yeah.
And so if someone who is in this webinar here today goes out and tell a colleague or a friend that he or she attended a LEGO Web Series Play webinar today, what are the most common misconceptions about LEGO Series Play?
Well, a misconception is that when it's play, it's not serious. So of course, that the combination is, to me, I really do high-level consultancy work. It's deadly serious for the people, that the clients that I work with. But the misconception can be, oh, we are going to do strategy, and you want to come play with us. So that's the kind of, in the beginning, 20 years ago, we heard it a lot. Now we don't, because it is rewarded as one of the strongest strategy tools in the world. So things are changing. People want to do things in a new way. But of course, sometimes you come across this, and you just need to, explain what it actually is. Right now, when we explain by the business result we have achieved, people stop asking these kind of questions. So for me, it's just to get started and to find out how accelerated this methodology is compared to a lot of other ways of doing teamwork or strategy or whatever. But the misconception, as you asked for, is, oh, is this serious? Are we going to play? Stuff like that.
And yeah, thanks, Jens. Final opportunity to ask any questions if you have them. We're about to round off this meeting otherwise. I think one personal reflection is that there's, when I do LEGO Series, I don't sell LEGO Series Play. I sell a workshop, or I sell a value, and then I recommend using LEGO Series Play to achieve the results we want to achieve. But one reflection is that always in those workshops or assignments, there's always someone sitting like this in the room, like, this is not serious. And I enjoy those participants because they're all most commonly the ones who afterwards are most like, wow, I didn't realize this, and they become the best ambassadors for the tool. So I tend to enjoy when I have those in the room. I also want to add another personal reflection, that is going back to the elephant in the room. I find that using LEGO Series Play is good when there is personal emotions or personal stakes. If there is an elephant in the room, maybe a conflict between two people regarding something that is infected or hard to talk about, then LEGO Series Play also works as a tool, because it moves the focus from you as a person to the things you are building. You are not discussing me and you are discussing what we have built. And that makes sort of a way into unlocking or solving this underlying annoyance or conflict or whatever it is. So that's why it's also useful for HR, and we see a lot of HR people involved in this method. All right, thank you then for attending. I will just show you one final screen here then. No, that was not the one. So we're about to round off. I want to thank you for attending the LEGO Series Play Introduction webinar. This presentation, together with useful links and well, answers to my questions, and you can also email in if you have any last minute question. We will send it out as well. I want to encourage you to consider to registering for the upcoming certifications, the one in Lund and the one in Stockholm this autumn. And this recording of the webinar will also be made available if you think that what you attended today might be interested for another contact or colleague of yours. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for attending. Jens, do you have any final words you want to bring in as well?
Oh, just hope to see you somewhere around the world. Stockholm and Lund. It's going to be great, and please ask the questions. We know it's a big decision to decide whether you go to the trainings or not. So don't hesitate to get clarified what you need to get clarified from either Gustav or me. So that's just my ending.
All right, then we'll finish the meeting 2 minutes ahead of time. So thank you everybody, and have a great day going forward.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye everybody.